This is Reimagining Higher Education, your go-to podcast with remarkable education leaders sharing personal stories from their experience in and around the sector, including reflection and hope for progress in the sector. With your host, Professor Judyth Sachs, former PVC Learning and Teaching at the University of Sydney, Deputy Vice-Chancellor and Provost at Macquarie University, and Special Advisor in Higher Education at KPMG, and now Chief Academic Officer at Studiosity. Welcome.
It gives me great pleasure to introduce the Chancellor, Dr. Serrano. Thank you for making time to talk to us about reimagining higher education. Do you have an object that represents your journey as a learner and a leader?
All right. I don't know what you call it, an art sand. So the sand flows down and creates a different image. So every time you flip this, it's a different one. So there's no specific figure or shape. So every time you shift this, so it creates a different shape. So it flows naturally, but it creates a different shape.
So tell me the story then about how that represents your leadership journey and your learner journey.
Yeah. So I saw this in a street in Berlin, and I thought, wow, it captured my attention because it's like a moving sand, and I think the sand, when you talk about sand, right? It never completely stands still. So it actually shifts, it flows, and it creates a different and unique pattern, this particular art sand. So I think it captures for me, it captures my journey as an educator from my student journey to my educator life. Because I think an educator should be able to flow with whatever a particular situation you are currently in. So I picture myself, I consider this a representation of my journey as an educator, because I shift or I flow depending on the current challenge or the current context I'm currently in. I don't know if that if that makes sense.
Yep. So tell me about your own where you were educated, what your schooling was like, what your university experience was like.
Yes, so I'm actually educated really here in the Philippines. So I came from the province. So I spent my elementary, high school years in the province, and then I took we call it the University of the Philippines College Admission Test. It's like the dream of every college student to pass the test. So when I took that and then I passed, so I had to relocate from the province to, well, this is another province, but it's like a 12-hour drive from my original province. So I started my college journey here in the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. And the main reason actually is because of my parents. My father actually studied here, and during their time, it was actually very rare that students from the provinces are able to study in the national university. So yeah, so that's how I started with my college journey. And I have been actually, I have tried my dream was actually to study abroad, but unfortunately, I'm the youngest in my family. A sibling of 6, and my parents actually gave birth to me rather late. So they had me in like 43 or 44 years old. So growing up, they're already in their senior years. But, so my dream of studying abroad had to be parked because I have to go home every now and then to my parents in the province because they wanted me to be there.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I took my graduate studies also here in the University of the Philippines. Well,
And what was your discipline?
well, my discipline is in development communication. So I took my bachelor's of science in development communication, and then my master's of management in development management, and my PhD again in development communication because I wanted to really harness the field of development studies, so in the field of communication and management. So I had to park my dream of studying abroad. That's usually the path, but because of parental obligations, I really have to stay here in the Philippines. So what I did was just take some short courses, for example, abroad. Not that long, so that I can still go home whenever my parents needed me. And just to share that that's actually a culture here in the Philippines.
Mhm.
Very filial, very family. Your duty to your family comes first, especially if I'm actually unmarried, and as the unmarried one in their family, it's my obligation to attend to my parents. So whenever they needed somebody, I should be there. So it's like my responsibility to take care of them, until they passed away already, but it was something that I happily did. I mean, I was still able to pursue my graduate studies, even though I'm here in the country.
So I'm interested in your field and your discipline about development communications. Tell me how the insights you get from your discipline help
Yeah.
you manage a very complex job.
Yeah, well, actually, the training that we have from the development of communication, just to differentiate it from the other fields of communication, is that it's very context based. It's very participatory, meaning that we're not interested in mass communication, meaning providing information to a mass of people. The discipline is actually very contextualized. So if we identify a very specific problem in an area, and this is very developmental oriented. So for example, in the Philippines, a developing country, or other Southeast Asian countries, or other countries in the world, you identify a certain developmental issue, and you go to that particular village, or even we call it a very specific, a smaller village. We call it a sitio, a smaller than a village. So you try to identify what their problems are, and you develop communication plan or whatever plans that would help that particular community. So that's the insight I get from that is that in managing a higher education institutions, you cannot do a one size fits all approach. You really have to go down to the ground, to everyone. You have to understand what the people on the ground are actually feeling. For example, if you're running an open university and you just assume that everyone knows technology, but then when you go to the ground and then you understand that some of the people, for example our administrative staff, are not even very adept in using technology, then you have to address these certain challenges and to design some intervention and how to address. So those are the insights I got from my field that I'm able to apply to my own to my management here in the university.
So most people would not know of your university. So just give me a brief description about the history, the size, and what you're known for, and what a student would experience at your university.
Yeah, so just to give you a context of our university is actually very big, because the University of the Philippines is a system. So we exist from north to south of the Philippines, and we were created, or we have our own charter, meaning we have our own law that protects the administrative and financial autonomy of the university. So we are in the Philippines. We're actually fairly known. So it's the University of the Philippines is the national university here in the country. So there are, I'm not sure of the number, but as for example, we are one of the autonomous unit. So I'm the chancellor here. There are 8 more autonomous unit. There are bigger than us. So, but for us, we have a population of around 6,000 to 7,000 students. Majority are actually graduate students. Let's say 70% are graduate students. And we were actually established to address the needs of those who are unable to, obtain quality education, especially from those far-flung areas. Because the UP system has originally 6 or 4 autonomous units. So we are the 5th one. We were established in 1995. And our mandate was to widen access to quality education, especially to those areas that cannot be reached by the UP campuses or the conventional University of the Philippines campuses. So our target really are adult working population, full-time population, professionals, especially teachers. Our flagship programs when we were starting out are actually teacher education programs, because in the Philippines, many of the teachers they work in remote areas, and they don't have the time to study for their graduate programs, because otherwise they would have to apply for leave of a leave from their teaching responsibilities, and they have to leave their families as well because they have to go to other areas to pursue their graduate education. So those are some of the target audience that we are really targeting, really trying to reach out to them. And this is very intentional because one of the problems in the Philippines is that many of the teachers are some, not many, let's just say some. There are some of the teachers who are not majored, who do not have majors in their specific fields, for example, sciences. For example, their field is in music, but because there's a lack of teachers who are trained to teach sciences, then they are forced to do so. That's why we develop programs to address these particular needs. So we reach out to them. So these are adult working professionals, those who are financially challenged because attending a university means you have to spend for transportation, accommodation, food, etc.
You've had that experience yourself.
Yes. It really takes a lot of resources to move to another place, rent a house, etc. So we know the difficulty. And of course, the women who cannot leave their families, but they would like to, continue their learning or lifelong learning. And then, of course, there are those who are based abroad. Just for your information, I don't know if have you met a Filipino in your country?
I have.
You have, right? If you go to another country, 100% you'll meet another Filipino because we are actually exporting Filipino. Sorry for the term, but it's actually one of the programs of the government to help the workforce of the country. So we send out overseas Filipino workers to different countries. For example, as teachers, nurses, professionals. Some are domestic helpers, but we are really want to capacitate them to upskill them so they'll have at least a job that is low risk. So we there are around, I think, 10 million Filipinos abroad, and so we are reaching out to them so that they'll be able to continue their studies, and when they eventually go back and reintegrate to the country, then they'll be able to reintegrate better. Or if they prefer to stay in the country where they are working, then they'll be able to get a better paying job. So what I'm trying to say is that we target learners who wouldn't have the time and the resources to attend conventional universities.
So talk to me about the mode of delivery then. Is it online? Is it remote in terms of small clusters coming together, or how do you deliver your programs?
Okay, so most of our programs are delivered asynchronously. We don't even, because we have been offering our courses fully online since 2007. So we did not actually shift to online because of pandemic or because of the COVID or the crisis. In 2000, when the internet was starting to advance, we have experimented on this mode of delivery. So we partnered with Singapore University. I think that was NUS. I'm not very sure, but it was an integrated virtual learning environment in Singapore that we started exploring and experimenting. So since then until 2017, and we said we're finally ready. Then we started to deliver our courses fully online. But we do not deliver it synchronously. We do not deliver lectures. We prepare a package. We call it a resource-based course package. So these are course packages with modules, with video lectures, podcasts, all kinds of learning resources that has been carefully designed to address to provide the content for our learners. So this is actually patterned to the model that we used prior to the online delivery. So since 1995 until 2000, we have um, we have written modules that have been really carefully designed because we follow this model, which we call a quality circle. So there's a team of experts that actually develops the module. So there's a course content. So there's basically the course author writing the content, and then an instructional designer ensuring that everything is aligned from the learning outcomes to the learning activities to the assessment, etc. And then we have a language editor, and then we have a multimedia designer, and then we actually included now a gender expert and inclusivity expert, and of course another reader to ensure that the content is would really pass, that this is not just from my own perspective. So another content expert would have the opportunity to take a look at the developed material.
So what I'm hearing is that your students are what we would call dispersed, remote, and they don't necessarily have an on-campus experience. So how do you create a situation where they get a sense of belonging, so that they have a connection to your institution and that they are proud that they're a graduate of that institution?
Yes. So we really try to simulate experiences in different areas. So for example, we organize different events that would include the students. So we give them the options. It's usually hybrid. So that those who would like to come to the university, they would have an experience to be on campus. But those who would be, prevented because of distance, then they would have an opportunity to join online. So that's one. We have a very wide range of activities that really allow for learning. That would allow engagement for our students. Second is that we're strengthening the student organizations. So our Office of Student Affairs is really starting to work with different student bodies to develop student organizations to have a semblance of that kind of belongingness to an organization. And then we try to engage them as well, yeah, asking them to participate in different conferences. We get support from the university, etc. And then we also have some student exchange here and abroad. we also allow our students to be on campus as student assistants. So we have a number of students who are serving as student assistants. And we have another avenue for them to engage as volunteers. So it's called pahinungod. Pahinungod
Mhm.
is a Cebuano term for offering oneself. So it's like an oblation. You offer oneself to the university and to the country. So we actually reward volunteerism. So when they graduate, we recognize their volunteer efforts by giving them pins and recognizing them on stage. So
Mhm.
those activities actually give them a sense of belongingness. But of course, I would admit it will never replace the on-campus experience. But what we can only do is really try to find ways to at least have a semblance of that kind of belongingness for our students. Sorry, and another thing is we have actually built digital twins through our virtual. We have a lab, immersive lab. So we develop virtual realities and digital twins of our campuses, and our students are actually were the ones who developed them. So we sent them to Thailand to be part of this laboratory, and
Mhm.
they're the ones who developed them. And we use this for our campus tour.
Wow, that sounds extraordinary. So you don't experience the campus physically, but you experience the campus virtually.
Yeah.
So you do get that sense of belonging. Gosh,
Yes.
that's wonderful. Of course, in the last 3 to 5 years, everything has been turned on its head, not only by COVID, but most recently by AI. So, do you want to talk to me about your institution's response to AI and student learning?
Yeah. So we do acknowledge that AI is there. We cannot deny that the advancement of technology is there. But we take pride in the idea that we are not actually driven by AI. We use AI as one of our technology to help us in delivering our courses. So, it's both a tool and a an agency, because tool to help our faculty members to facilitate some of the learning activities. Agency because it some of our faculty members are actually really experimenting on how to collaborate with AI when teaching our students. So this is something that we acknowledge and that we embrace. We're not afraid of AI. We do acknowledge that this is a tool that will be there, but we do not say that we are driven by AI, because we are not.
Mm.
We use them in our courses. We let our students use them. We continually review our policy. In fact, we just had a faculty conference, I think a few weeks ago, or was that last month? It's reimagining assessment in the era of AI. So we
Mhm.
constantly have these kinds of activities to review our AI policies and to get a sense of how our faculty members use AI in their courses, so that we can also adapt accordingly, and so that our students would also know what are expected from them when using AI.
And so, how are you using it to facilitate learning and at the same time ensure that academic integrity is upheld, that it's the student's work, not the work of the bot or AI?
We have a policy. I just don't have it, but we can probably share it with. So we just allow certain activities. For example, brainstorming ideas. We have them as policy that you cannot use this for writing or for crafting the material but yourself. You can use it for developing topics based on your literature. So it's something that they can use, but they cannot use it. It cannot replace their work. So we're very clear
Mm.
about that when it comes to our students, and our faculty members are actually very vigilant. So even if you don't, you cannot really trust the AI detector, right? I mean, there are many things that you can do. So we actually compare the things that our students produce, starting from the discussion forum to their assignment to their essay, looks like that this is a different work from what they have produced previously in their discussion forum, because you would have an understanding, you would have an idea of how a student actually writes, on the how that particular student thinks based on the way he or she writes. So those
Mhm.
are things that our faculty members are really vigilant of.
So look, I just want to get up on the balcony to look down at higher education in the Philippines.
Yes.
So what are the big issues facing you as the chancellor of your university?
I don't really consider this as one of the issues, but sometimes it makes me think at night. For example, it used to be that the University of the Philippines Open University, because we are referred to as the cyber campus of UP. We're very clear on the way we deliver. Our mode of delivery is very clear to us and to them.
Mhm, mhm,
But because of the shift from, residential to online, to blended into online, there's that blurring of, you know, should you be doing that? Are you actually allowed to do that? Because I think only the UPOU is mandated to do that. So there are those kinds of debates here in our university, or even in other universities, if they are allowed to offer their programs fully online, or should that be the job of the UP Open University? But for us, I think we really cannot prevent universities as long as they follow certain regulations. Because here in the Philippines, there's actually a regulation. There's a requirement for a specific university to be able to offer their courses fully online. They should be able to get an accreditation from the Commission in Higher Education. So, for example, they should be allowed, I think it's a program level 3. If they're able to pass that level of accreditation, then they will be allowed to offer their programs online. But for us, we don't really consider that as some kind of a competition. In fact, I think we actually help them by capacitating their faculty members how to deliver their courses online. Because I think that's our responsibility as an open university that is mandated to offer its courses via open and distance e-learning, to actually maintain the standards. Because it's very easy to um, deliver courses online but without quality assurance. So the quality assurance is something that we are actually trying to promote and advocate for among different universities here in the Philippines. So basically, I think one of the issues, I mean, not issue, one of the trend here in the Philippines is that most universities are actually really offering their courses online.
mhm.
So that's a trend. I'm not sure if that's a good trend or a bad trend, but that's a reality that the Philippines has to face.
But does that then impact on the number of students that you can recruit?
Well, it does have an impact, but at the very start, we already know that we're actually limited when it comes to accommodating certain students, because although we are an open university, we still follow the rules and regulations of the University of the Philippines, which has a very stringent criteria.
Mhm.
Although we have certain open philosophy, but of course we have to follow the criteria set by the university. So, I think we still have potential, because there are still many students here in the Philippines who would like to study in the University of the Philippines. And second, of course, we do pride ourselves for delivering our courses, quality assured programs. And third, we actually, I think, we at the UP Open University have now the opportunity to really reach out to those target audience that we want to reach. Those who are in the margins, those who are in the small islands, teachers that cannot cross seas and rivers because they do not have the resources. I think we should be able to do that now because there are so many universities that are now offering their courses online, which means that the professionals that we used to target, they can target it now. But it will be very hard for them to reach out to those in the margins, to those remote areas, to those in the mountains, indigenous people. There are 130 plus ethno-linguistic groups here in the Philippines. The OFWs, 10 million of them. Our university president has actually ordered us to target 5% of those. So what is 5% of 10 million? I don't know how to accommodate them. So there are actually opportunities which actually excite me because this means that we will now be able to focus on the target learners that we wanted to get in the first place.
So, two more questions. What advice would you give to the younger Joane in terms of her career and in terms of her life trajectory?
Okay, so the older Joanne would tell the younger Joanne, do not worry too much. You know what? The younger Joanne would worry too much. Oh, what will be my future? Uh, During my undergraduate, I wasn't really very studious. I mean, that wasn't my priority. I wanted to contribute to the community. That was my dream. That's why I had my courses development communication. But when I graduated, my older siblings literally told me, do not go to the community because otherwise, you might be disillusioned. There are so many problems in the communities. It's not safe. So I had to, content myself to work within the vicinity. So the older Joanne would say, okay, yes, don't worry too much. Even if we are not able to accomplish your dream, somewhere along the way, you'll be able to as an educator. Because I did not dream to be an educator. I mean, my parents were both teachers. So I didn't want to be a teacher. I wanted to go to the communities and help the communities. I really want to go to the Mindoro, the Amangyans, the IPs, for example, or far-flung communities to work in NGOs. But that did not happen. So, but that's not a problem now. I'm now that I'm an old I that now that I'm older, I'm actually able to help out those communities that I wanted to serve in the first place. So yeah, the younger Joanne, just relax. You'll be able to actually achieve your dreams, although it's a different path that you have taken.
Joane, you are an inspiration. I do have one question. I'm going to ask you what you are currently reading.
Oh, yeah. So I have this book. The Philippines is not a small country. Because one of the justification that we always do, or we always offer, why are you still developing? Oh, we are a small country. We cannot compete to other countries. But Philippines is not a small country. We have vast resources. We have vast talent. So there's so much potential for this country. I mean, talk of human resources, talk of natural resources, talk of the diversity that this country offers. So I think for me, this is very, very timely and appropriate to read and to share to others because we cannot hide always to that justification that the reason why you're not able to achieve that kind of growth is because we're a small country, because we're not. So yeah, so that's it, Judith. I hope I was able to share something with you.
Oh, look, Joane, I have found your conversation this afternoon to be inspirational, and I'm sure others will find you as inspirational as I found you this afternoon. And I wish you all the best of being a leader in a complex institution during a very complex time. And from where I sit, I would love to work with you.
Thank you so much, Judy. Thank you so much. And thank you to Studiosity. We really value this partnership. We hope we'll be able to contribute to the current data that you have, especially since we're the test case here in the Philippines.
Excellent. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Yes, thank you too. Bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to Studiosity's podcast, Reimagining Higher Education, candid conversations within higher education, sharing stories of leadership, change, and best practice in teaching and learning. Visit studiosity.com.